Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to be running through a dynamic isometric for hip external rotation in a 90-90 using the floor. So 90-90, typically begin this setup 90 degrees here, here and here. Alright, and if we take the movement as I would lower myself down, I'm kind of loading the hip external rotation of my front hip, okay? As I'm coming back up, I'm reducing that range of external rotation on the hip. All right, so you want to think this is almost like a slow rep from point A to point B. You could either start up here, okay, with the exercise, or you could even choose to start down here and gradually finish up here. So it's either beginning up here, working your way down, or vice versa. Okay, so I'll give you an example of a couple of different reps so you see what I mean with this. But before we begin, the back leg doesn't really matter for this exercise so much. So I would suggest explore. You can close the back knee, bring the back knee in a bit more. All right, and generally this gives a bit more freedom on this rear hip, allowing us to explore a bit more potentially with what we do on this exercise. So if you feel that you can get a bit more movement with this exercise, a bit more range, and it's targeting all the tissues on this outer hip region, then I would definitely suggest play with adjusting this to allow that to happen. If you feel having this in a 90 position restricts what you're able to do a lot, change something back here. And then with this leg, you can also change it a little bit. So you could take the knee out a bit, you could close the knee a bit, figure out what feels good for you, what feels also effective and doesn't create any unusual discomfort, such as maybe knee pain, etc. So throughout the exercise, I'm resisting the floor. I'm driving my leg into the floor. I'm also thinking rotating into the floor. So I'm pushing down a little bit more with the ankle than with the knee. Okay, so it's almost pushing the whole leg down, but thinking to rotate, and that's coming from the hip. All right, I can, like I say, begin up here. Now with the exercise, the idea is to kind of move out of conventional movement patterns, but also keep that area overstressed, not overstressed, but under tension. So while I'm here, I can then play with movements of nearby joints. I can start to kind of organically twist my upper body one direction, the other direction. I could maybe play with side bending the spine. And what I'm doing as I do these type of movements is I'm also just essentially kind of moving my pelvis over my hip. And that in the process is starting to stretch, challenge different connective tissues on the hip. So it's almost feeling like a moving stretch that changes throughout the movement. All right, still focus on a particular area, but always changing as I change something with my body. And as I'm starting to fatigue, I'll slowly lower myself down a bit more and continue to do the same thing. Type of movements I could play with, really twisting my spine one way, twisting my spine the other way. I could maybe adjust during the set, close the knee a little bit more. For some of us, we might find as we get lower, we might have to make these type of adjustments like closing the knee to kind of continue, okay, without feeling discomfort in the wrong places, okay? So that would be a rep starting from the top position, finishing in the bottom. Alternatively, you can lower yourself down, begin to resist the floor, so push into the floor, rotate into the ground, and then as you build to a good tension, holding that tension, start to organically move into different places with your body. Okay, you notice I'm also moving slow in order to keep tension, but also to assess as I move into these strange, unfamiliar territories, how the hip copes, how the tissues around that joint are handling what I'm putting through it. I also want to strength train these tissues, so I'm taking my time so that they have that time to also get comfortable, become aware of these new spaces I take it in. And it can be one slow rep, okay? Or you could be aiming to do 2 to 3 reps for the prescribed amount of time.